I'm Sophia Esguerra, a third-year high school student. Today, I will tackle about trigonometric ratio. So what is trigonometric ratio first? It is a real function which relate an angle of a right angle triangle to ratio of two side lengths. The importance of trigonometric ratio, it is the skill that allows students to work out complex angle and dimension in relatively little time. Widely used in architecture, engineering, and many science, trigonometry is one of the most valuable branches of mathematics. Alright, so with the help of So, Ka, and Tawa, it is a mnemonic of remembering the definition of the trigonometric ratio with the sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, so for the sine, let's put it here. Sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. And next, for the cosine is for ka, so we will put it here, cos theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And lastly, for tan theta equals opposite adjacent. Okay, so that's how easily we will define with the help of Salkatoa. Alright, so as we can see in our triangle, this is how it looks like with the opposite side here, with the hypotenuse and the adjacent. In the opposite side, we have x and 12 in hypotenuse and 42 degrees for adjacent. Yet, we don't have any real information to do with the adjacent, so we're not gonna apply it, so let's cancel it out. But we will use opposite x and for 12 hypotenuse. So that's what I said earlier. So for the saw, we will use sine for theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. So we will then copy sine and we will put 43 here as the data, and the opposite is x over 12. So to get the x by itself, I'm gonna times both sides by 12. So here, sine 43 times 12 equals x. So the answer will be 8.18. So here is the final countdown. So to get the final answer, with the help of our sine calculator, if you have, yes, so it must also in a degree mode. So make sure be on a degree mode when you're in the radiant. Go. In addition to our next example, so we are given an angle down here which is 38 and we're trying to find the x. But the hypotenuse over here, in that case, it does not factor at all in the information we have. So all we have to do is to get this opposite and adjacent. So now we will use the tan. In this case, we will write here tan 38 equals to the opposite x and the adjacent 10. And next step, tan 38 and then equals x either to 10 correctly. And yes, we actually get the x by itself to multiply to 10, this y here, and then the answer we have is, final answer is 7.8. Thank you.
The trigonometric function most widely used in modern mathematics are the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. Their reciprocals are respectively the cosecant, the secant, and the cotangent, which are less used. Each of the six trigonometric functions has a corresponding inverse function and an equivalent in the hyperbolic function as well. The oldest definitions of trigonometric functions related to right-angle triangles define them only for acute angles. To extending these definitions to function whose domain is the whole projectively extended real line, geometrical definitions using the standard unit circle is often used. Modern definitions express trigonometric function as infinite series or a solution of differential equations. This allows extending the domain of sine and cosine functions to the whole complex plane, and the domain of other trigonometric functions to the complex plane. And here are the trigonometric functions and their reciprocals. Sine is equivalent to opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is equivalent to adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is equivalent to opposite over adjacent, cosecant equivalent to hypotenuse over opposite, secant equivalent to hypotenuse over adjacent, and lastly cotangent equivalent to adjacent over opposite.
Elevation is the angle from the horizontal to the line of sight of the observer to the object above. Angle of depression is the angle from the horizontal to the line of sight of the observer to the object below. Sokatowa. So, sin is opposite over hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. Towa. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So here are my examples of my explanation over angle of depression and elevation. A man measures the angle of elevation between the ground and the building 800 feet away to be 30 degrees. How tall is the building? So this is the angle. So this is the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So we're gonna use the tan opposite over adjacent because the hypotenuse is missing. So we're gonna use this equation, and then if we write it down in the calculator, this is what our final answers will be. My second example is this. An airplane pilot spots a boat at a 26 degrees angle of depression. The airplane's altitude is 3 kilometers. What is the airplane surface distance from the boat? So this is the hypotenuse, this is the opposite, and this is the adjacent. This time, the missing is adjacent, but we're gonna use the same equation, is TOA. I'm gonna use the TOA, and this is my equation. So if we tangent 26 degrees is equals to 1.18, and then we're gonna put 1 so that we can cross multiply this, and then after that we're gonna put 3 between the sides, so that the equation is 3 times 1 divided by 1.18 is equals to distance over 3 times 3. So if we solve this, this is what our final answers will be. 2.54 kilometers.
We're going to focus on solving word problems, typically angle of elevation and depression word problem. Start with this one. A man measures the angle of elevation between the ground and a building 800 feet away to be 30 degrees. How tall is the building? So let's say that the height of the man is irrelevant. So here's the ground. And let's say that this is the building. With these problems, typically you need to draw by triangle. So let's draw the line of sight from the ground. So it'll turn out to be like this. The angle of elevation is the angle above the horizontal. This is the angle of elevation, 30 degrees. The angle of depression is the angle below the horizontal line. So 40 degrees would represent the angle of depression. So let's say this is the horizontal line. This one. The angle of the elevation, the angle of depression is the angle below the horizontal line. So 40 will represent angle of depression. Angle of depression. The angle of depression is 30, would represent the angle of elevation. Now, the building is 800 feet away. Let's say the man is somewhere over here. So, this 800 feet, and our goal is to solve for the height of the building. So the drawing will turn out to be like this, 800 feet and the height of the building. What equation can we use now? You need to be familiar with the terms. So, towa. So, towa. Take note. Let's focus on the sol part of SOHCAHTOA. What it means is that sine theta is equal to the opposite side divided by the hypotenuse. Now, the ka part means cosine theta is equal to the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. And toa tangent theta is equal to the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. So we have three trigonometric functions applicable to the situation. We have sine ratio, the cosine, and the tangent ratio. Now, which one is the most suitable? This specific problem should we use? Cosine or tangent or sine? So, the angle that we have is 30 degrees. Opposite to the angle is the height of the building. We're looking for the angle adjacent to the angle is 800 feet and the hypotenuse is across 90-degree angle. 90-degree angle. Since we're looking for the height of the building, which is the opposite side, and we have the adjacent side, we have to use the tangent ratio. We don't know anything about the hypotenuse of the triangle, so we can't use sine or cosine. We must use the tangent. So, tangent theta, as you mentioned before, is equal to the opposite side divided by the adjacent side, and the angle is starting. So tangent 30 is equal to the opposite side, which is the height, of the building, divided by the adjacent side, which is 800. So it will turn out to be like this. Tangent 30 degrees is equal to the height divided by 800, which is the height of the building. So, let's multiply both sides by 800. So it will turn out to be like this. Open column 800. So it will turn out to be like this. Open column 800. Close column, same with the other one. So these two will cancel, therefore these two parts will cancel. Therefore, the height of the building is 800 times tangent of 30. degrees. Turn out to be like this. Height is equals to 800 tangent 30 degrees. Now, tangent 30 is radical 3 divided by 3. So 800 radical 3 divided by 3. So, the height of the building, the exact answer is 800 root divided by 3. If you want the decimal value, your calculator must be on degree mode. Root 3 over 3 is about 461.88. So that's how tall the building is. So, the proper way of writing this is like this. 461.88 feet is equals to 800 radical 3 divided by 3. So this is the exact answer of the height of the building. 461.88 feet. That is the easiest part. If you know the terms, you'll get used to it and you'll solve it much more properly and easily.